First of all, I want to thank Patty for inviting me to speak tonight on this Transgender Day of Remembrance, and as I've seen other places of resilience as well. If you've known me 20 years ago, or even 10 years ago, if you had told me that I was going to be up here as a trans person speaking to you tonight, I would have told you you were crazy, absolutely crazy. It's been a long road for me, and the journey isn't over yet. I've still got a long way to go. See, growing up, I was taught that being the way I am was messed up, and that I needed to break myself of a bad habit. I was taught that the way I felt was unnatural, that it was a choice, and one that I could choose not to be. But there was one big problem with that theory. I had a nagging feeling within me that there was a part of me unable to be true to who I was. And the more I tried to squash who I truly was, the more persistent it became within me. Most of my life I didn't understand it, fighting against it within myself. But it just would not go away. Now I understand that I've always been transgender, but then I didn't know what it meant. I would have times when I'd secretly go off and dress in a way that made me feel comfortable about being myself, but I would have to hide it. And then I would try to convince myself that I was wrong, and I would purge myself of it as best I could, but it would always come back. The cycle repeated itself over and over and over again for more than 50 years. Something else kept me from being authentic. See, I had made a good life for myself. I had a good marriage. I have 4 amazing kids. I had several good jobs. I lived in many places across the country. And generally I was happy. I was accepted and I was loved by those around me. And although I was a bit of an introvert, I had many friends. Why is that a problem? Well, because I knew that if I came out, I would likely lose a lot of that. Through all of this, I've always had a strong faith. I still do. Religion taught me that God was disappointed and disapproved of who I was, and that I must pray extremely hard for God to lift the burden from me, like it was some kind of sickness. But one day, in the midst of one of my many painful, tearful times, crying out to God for help, God managed to break through the religious paint that had been put over my faith. I felt God's presence so strongly, and the words that came to me were, "It's okay. I love you, and it's okay." And that changed everything for me. It changed my life. All of a sudden, I saw everything through the eyes of a loving God, and not the God who despised me as I had been taught. I began to learn more about being transgender, and I began to accept myself. I started taking what I called giant baby steps. Shaving my legs, carrying a handbag, painting my fingernails. Every one of them seemed like such a huge deal at the time, and after I'd done it, it didn't seem like much at all. Fast forward a few years, and hormones began. It began the long and slow process of transition. I felt good about the real me finally having a chance to flourish and come out. And I'll admit that in that stage, it wasn't pretty. As I began to discover myself, I did get pretty self-focused, verging on selfish. But that was necessary for me to get over my own fears and to find myself. While I was much happier being able to express myself the way I truly felt inside myself, there were those around me who struggled with the changes that they saw. To me, as I transitioned and looked out from the inside, it didn't seem like anything at all had changed. I still felt like myself from the inside. But people around me, they thought they could see the changes. Because, I mean, we all judge a book by its cover, right? We all expect everyone else to feel the way we do, even though every one of us is different. My relationship with my spouse changed, being cisgendered. she found it impossible to be married to a person she now perceived as a woman. Her leaving meant we had to sell our house. I had to find another occupation, which then led me to move to Stratford, finding myself living alone. My parents still don't accept me the way I am, and they continue to insist on using my old name and pronouns. My sister has little to do with me. So many of the things that I feared would happen, they did indeed happen. I sometimes feel like I was placed in a no-win situation, like I was damned if I had to struggle with it, and I'm damned if I come out. It wasn't easy. There have been days when I wondered, have I done the right thing? But then I remember the struggle that I kept within myself, that was contained within me, of essentially living a lie. And the feeling of relief in being able to be myself. I found the support of others around me who care and who show me love in spite of who I am, sometimes even because of it. The struggles are no longer internal. I don't have to wrestle with that inside myself anymore. Now they're all external. Now the struggles are with the world around me, with the constant barrage of negative media, and sometimes with individuals who deny me the right of my very existence. In so many ways, I'm happier now than I have been ever in my life. I have truer friendships, stronger bonds. But on this day, on this Transgender Day of Remembrance, it's important for me to recognize that the freedom to be myself has come with a price. There have been many who fought for our rights, many who suffered, many who have even died for them. And that struggle continues. For all of us in the queer community, freedom to be ourselves continues to come at a high price. And that price is not only paid once, but continually. Now I'm over 50. And that's a heavy burden for me. But imagine the weight of all of that being placed on them. As they try desperately to figure out an incongruency within themselves, knowing that if they come out, they may face rejection, be demeaned, or in some cases bullied into submission, even by their parents, who sadly often kick them out of their homes, the places where they should feel the most safe. As I wrote this, I don't want to scare anybody who may be considering coming out. Don't give up. You have the right to be who you are. And I can say it is better to be authentic. But I'll also be real and say that at times it can be very hard. To those who are allies, true allies, and I know there are many of you here tonight, true allies who are not only supporting us with words, but with love and with action, I want to thank you. We need you. We need your support. Transgender Day of Remembrance is a day to remember those trans heroes who have done so much to pave the way for transgender individuals to live their lives in public. But it's also a day to remember every transgender person out there. Those who are living their authentic selves and those who are wanting to but don't feel ready. And for all those who love and support us as well. It takes so much courage. I never saw myself as a courageous person. But the more I kept thinking about this, the more I thought it takes a lot of courage. Everyone who stands up to be themselves as a hero, a warrior. And today we recognize all of them. Thank you for taking the time to mark this day, to remember those who have struggled and who we've lost, and to remember those who struggle with